Hey, what's going on guys? Primal Cinder here with a new video, and in today's video I'm going to be making a general setup guide for Cypher. For those who don't know me, I am a Cypher main, been playing since closed beta and peaked Immortal 3, super close to Radiant at the moment. I've been getting a lot of requests for Ascent and how I set up my tripwires, cages, and cameras, what's the best thing, and how do I hold my sights. So I'm going to be demonstrating what I like to use and try and explain it very briefly. If you guys end up liking this video, please like, subscribe, share. I stream daily on Twitch, so you can ask more questions there. And if you want to see more videos, please let me know what you'd like to see. If this works out, I'll definitely post more. And with that being said, I'll leave you with the rest of this clip, and then on to the guide we go. I'll also be adding timestamps on screen and in the description so that you guys can skip to whatever part that you would like the most. So first things first, I would like to try and show more of a retake position for whenever you're getting swarmed by players. This first camera is a spot mainly so the enemies aren't going to turn around and look for it, and this gives you a really good field of view. I'm going to be placing my tripwires more towards the site because in higher elos, Jet will insta-dash through your tripwires. Both of these tripwires that I have set up are really good. It lets them on the site, they push right into your tripwires and cages, and you have the camera to know exactly where players are moving. So if someone moves the generator, which is right next to where this second tripwire is, you'll know if they push in, and you usually won't push in your smoke like I'm doing, but you have a lot of room to work with. You're super safe, you have tons of vision, and it's really nice. Second setup will be mainly, this is a very general one that'll work almost in any elo except for the higher ones, where you place this trip against the wall. It's not easy to be shot at unless you wallbang it. You can't crouch, you can't jump over it. That wallbang there can work. You just have to know how to bully players away from it. I also like running this tripwire against the wall to the left, because most people, once they enter into the site, will try and run left or right. It works to both ways. So depending on how much aggression is being given, you can put up this camera. It lets you see into catwalk area if they enter by yourself, and in A main through the little crack. Most of the time I will play Heaven because a raise will throw a nade backside and kill me, and I play rather safe. So you pop the cage on both tripwires, they run into your traps, you either kill them when they're entering while you're spraying in, free kills, and you can wallbang the second tripwire if they step into it. Meanwhile, your camera is still giving you plenty of intel and letting your team rotate before it's too late. Next is moving this tripwire more to the left. Sometimes the players that you're playing against are way too good and understand how the game works, so they'll run C4, they'll run shock darts and all that. So you can run the double tripwires on left and right and double cage. That way whenever they push in, they're pushing into full cages, and then most of the time they'll end up running into the tripwires on left and right depending. Like I said, in general, this tripwire that I'm putting against this stone brick wall, they can't jump or crouch under it. It's really good to stop flanks. This next tripwire, while it is sometimes buggy, is a very good tripwire if you feel like the enemies are going to do an A split. So sometimes I'll put the tripwire that is really basic against the wall and then near to this tree area. This camera lets you see a lot of the enemies coming in, pop your cages, and free kills while the enemies just run straight into you. The higher the elo you get into, the more enemies will predict, but in lower elos, maybe even plat below, these are 2 free kills every single time. Next, you can use this one on the ground to switch it up if enemies are starting to predict you. It works the same way, except they can jump over it, as shown. I also know that I mentioned that you should be a little unpredictable with Cypher. That camera that I just picked up is really nice, but being aggressive with your intel with camera is also extremely important. I just threw my camera wine, that's what that's called, and it can show quite a bit and give your team time to rotate. So it is important to play different angles with your camera. Here's another nice one. It sees a lot, but most of the time, as soon as you show it, it will get shot. So it's nice to hold it and wait. Finally, here's a really basic tripwire. Super simple, very nice for info and to hold. So next, we're going to talk about mid. You will rarely have to solo hold a mid as Cypher, but it can happen on occasion. First thing I'm going to show you is this camera. This camera shows all of cat and a lot of mid and in the cubby. This camera is extremely nice, but you can easily change it up just by dropping in another location high in the sky. Next will be the tripwire. I recommend putting this more towards pizza, which is this close area next to market, just so that if an enemy gets trapped inside your cage, whenever you pop it, that they cannot run. Usually if you're playing mid, you'll play in a hybrid of B. Speaking about playing B, most of the time, whenever you're on Ascent, I think B is probably the strongest site. I think A is quite strong indeed, but the higher elo you go, more towards Immortal 2, 3, Immortal 1, you'll start seeing players abuse you at A. So first, I'm going to show this diagonal tripwire. Most of the time, this is the best and kind of a default tripwire. Once players start recognizing that you're placing it there, I would take it back immediately. Here is another good tripwire. This one is actually very good, especially towards lower elos. You can get it higher or lower depending if there's a raised boom bot that can destroy it. Whenever you place this, most of the times players will instantly rush into sight. And here is a lineup one way. You crouch yourself in the corner and you aim towards the edge. Whenever you do that, you throw it and you can sit back here and spam players' feet and usually get 1 or 2 free kills, especially in the lower elos. Combine that with the tripwire that you put diagonally, and most of the time that's a free kill. I also show you this tripwire, or this cage that I throw on the roof of boat. This is really good combo with your tripwire that connects to the boat itself. And whenever players push in, you throw it, you pop it, and they run into your tripwire and you get free kills. You just spray them down for free. Now, like I mentioned several times over and over, being unpredictable with Cypher is extremely important. So it is good to move your tripwires according to what the enemy is doing. I show a tripwire that connects from boat towards the middle site. Sometimes players will just run through. You sit back here near the end of B and you can wait for them to either jump over it, because sometimes players will try and sneak past, or you just wait for them to step in and kill them. Here's another sneaky tripwire whenever players try and enter into B from middle near pizza into market, and it sometimes catches people off guard. It doesn't happen often because they will try and spam and they walk straight into the tripwire. I would not use it all the time, but it's just something to use that I sometimes throw in there to confuse players. Next, here is another tripwire that is quite good to throw back once they start understanding this tripwire at boat, because you can wall bang players through it. Sometimes I'll combine that with the diagonal tripwire, and I will mainly run this camera near boat itself. This one is quite good because they have to swing into it and it's a pretty sharp angle. Here's another camera that I like using sometimes. It allows you to see the players that are trying to go straight into B, and it's really nice for your one way, as shown here. I can see them before they enter, pop my smoke, and start shooting at their feet or towards their body. Most of the time I'll try and adjust. Once that happens, they'll run into side if I don't die, and I can wall bang all the players because they'll be trapped by this. This has been mainly how I would generally set up with Cypher on the map Ascent. We'll go into attack and explain what I would do and why I do it, so that you guys have a better understanding of how to attack with Cypher. The first things first, as Cypher, your job is to be holding flanks from the enemies. Whenever the round starts, you need to be moving because you don't have a lot of time. You have 30 seconds, and to run across the map, you don't get very long. My first setup is usually a tripwire at B main, like I had just thrown, and at A main down the lane. And I put them in places where the enemies, unless they stage wall, C4, or updraft as Jets, they can't get past them without shooting. And this gives your team tons of info if the enemy is flanking. And here's the third tripwire. This one is okay, but I'm about to demonstrate that you can jump over this with this fancy little jump as shown, and it can get your team killed. Cypher's whole job on attack is to put these trips down and keep his team from dying from flanks. So now I just want to briefly mention how placing these tripwires, you need to constantly be thinking about how enemies can abuse them. You put this tripwire here to deny enemy pushes, but if you can see here, this tripwire that we put at B main is quite easy to be shot immediately, and then they can swing out and kill your teammates. It can get your team killed, and you just have to be aware of that. So sometimes whenever I know that I have more time at B, instead of leaving it at the very edge at the very beginning round, I will come in later and I'll place a deeper trip. Doing this denies the enemy team, if they're pushing up, to get a lot of the advantage they might have by swinging instantly. As you saw there, if an enemy was trying to shoot the tripwire like I showed, they would have to sprint wide and shoot, and most likely that would end up getting punished because it would be called out immediately. These are things you have to think about. Now, for instance, if we're going up A and you know our whole team is going A, the enemy team will be shifting up the lane as demonstrated, and oh, there's a tripwire. Normally it's good for if the enemy's pushing into you, but if they're coming behind you and flanking, well, left. You can see he just drops in and now he's behind your whole team. Maybe he gets 1, 2, 3, maybe your whole team dies to one player. So that's where that tripwire can be good, but as shown before, it could be jumped over. So it's risk reward to Cypher, and you just have to know when to do what and how to adjust.
10 seconds left.
Finally, the last thing I want to talk about on attack a Cypher is how important your cages are. Cages are probably one of the next two most important things of smokes for certain parts of the map. One thing I really enjoy about Cypher is whenever an enemy moves into a cage, you can hear that. So on certain areas where enemies would just run out of smokes, you can throw them at like market or CT from B main, and one like this in mid. If they push the smoke, you'll hear it before, and most of the time your team can react. You can throw it at mid like I just showed, and the cages have limitless uses, and I think another big role that Cypher plays is bullying the other Cypher. So most of the time, for instance at A main, I'll throw a cage like this, and the tripwire I showed earlier, I'll just wallbang and then I'll run back. I'll demonstrate this again, so as if the tripwire is actually here, so it would stop glitching. Most of the time I will be up A main, I'll throw my cage against the wall so I can bounce it to cover myself, make sure I'm not completely open. I'll shoot it, wall bang, and run away. That'll be it for this general setup guide on Ascent. If you guys enjoyed this video, please share this with other players who enjoy Cypher or are looking to educate themselves on Valorant and improve as a player. Appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, subscribe, like, comment, tell me if you want to see any other maps, if you want me to go more in detail on certain things, if you want to see videos like every single camera spot on a certain map, every tripwire, all this, and anything that you would like, please let me know, and I hope you enjoyed. I also stream daily on Twitch, and I talk about a lot of these things in depth, and I also stream gameplay for ranked, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop by there. Other than that, thank you guys for stopping by. Peace out.